guys, I am editing the footage right now, and I just want to say I am so sorry about the sniffling going on. I'm not sick, I just have really bad allergies and they are kind of flared up right now. I hate that I have to upload with this in the footage, but I'm sorry. Hey guys, this is Stephanie from Milkshed, and this is our yarn chat number 17. Today is April 3rd, a beautiful spring day in Wyoming. Milkshed is a Wyoming handmade podcast. It's where I talk about life in rural Wyoming and all kind of handmade hobbies of mine, knitting, crochet, weaving, all that fun stuff. So I am back after a week away. Last Sunday was Easter. I know a lot of podcasters took the week off. We're not really religious, but it's mostly just a family day for us. And unfortunately, we live across the country from our family. So we just had a quiet day at home. I hope everybody had a good Easter though. Per usual, not much format today. I'm going to hop around, talk about a lot of different things. My monthly subscriptions have showed up. I got a yarn swap in the mail. I have a finished object, and I have a few works in progress. So let's get to it. First up, we have some giveaways to get out of the way. Two different things have ended. The first is 12 in 12, which is our monthly project where we are working on one skein projects. We're taking those perfect, beautiful skeins that we all have in our stash. That's what I want to say. And we're not really sure what to do with. And we've come up with a list of all different kinds of projects that these things are perfect for. I see people making hats, mitts, socks, lots of socks, shawls, baby garments, all different kinds of things. So this month I did it a little differently. I just pulled from the thread instead of just picking out the finished objects. As we get more and more finished objects every month, it gets just harder for me to dig through all those. So there were 59 posts in the thread. I did a random number generator for posts 2 through 59. And the winner was post 47. One of our most frequent posters, Mama One Moose, who is Cynthia from Amarillo, Texas. She does these really impressive socks, and it makes me want to step up my sock game like crazy, which is actually something I'll talk about in just a little bit. So she did this beautiful green pair of socks. There were a lot of green socks this month. I saw 2 different eyelet green socks. So hers were like a light colored green with an intricate pattern on them. Congratulations, Cynthia. What you are winning is a skein of yarn that was donated from Liz. Lizzie the Mama is her name on Ravelry. It is from her, Etsy shop. She's an indie dyer under the name Colorful Eclectic Dye Works. It is this beautiful, intense, this is like my favorite color blue, intense tonal blue. Colorway is called September Sapphire. So if anybody wants to check this out on Etsy, that is the name of the shop. I might have your information from something else, Cynthia, but just go ahead and send me a message so I can get this sent out to you. And then the other thing that just ended was my project with Julie from Diary of a Yarn Snob. We were co-hosting a 3-color cowl along, and that ended on the 31st. Tons of beautiful finished cowls in that thread. I was so happy to see the kind of turnout that we had. So there were I had a chatter thread and then a separate finished object thread. You guys were welcome to chatter in the finished object thread, but nobody actually did, which just made it easier for me to pick a winner. So I did posts 2 through 37. The winner was number 3, who is Whipper Willie. She's Sharon from Ontario, Canada. And if I remember correctly, she did a gray and pink shawl and kind of changed up the pattern with a variegated skein. It was beautiful. So Sharon, what you are winning is a small project bag that I purchased from The Fawn and the Fox. So it came from Canada to the US, and now it's going back to Canada. A skein of beautiful Toil and Trouble yarn. This is their tweed base. No idea how to pronounce the colorway, but it's this beautiful teal brown skein. It is a sock fingering 438 yards merino nylon blend. So we got that. And then for me, one of the felted bowls that I've made, it's this gray and cream. This is one of the very last ones that I have in my stash, so that's coming your way. So if you see this, send me a message and I will get this out to you. anybody who's waiting on a package from me, I have a few little mini skein swaps that I've been doing and some winners for things. They're all headed to the post office on Monday. So if you haven't received it yet and you haven't heard from me, feel free to check in, but everything should be headed out ASAP. So winter's done. Now we can get on to the fun stuff. Where do I want to start? Let me arrange all the stuff that's around me. Give me a second. So first up, I have a finished object, and it's not one of the works in progress that you guys have seen before. This is a brand new thing that I just cast on kind of on a whim, and I loved it. You guys know how long I've struggled to knit socks. I finished a pair of socks and I loved it. I have like tried to make myself enjoy making socks, and I just didn't. I couldn't figure it out. They never fit right. They weren't enjoyable. I didn't know what the problem was because I wanted to enjoy it, but it just wasn't there. It wasn't working for me. So I was on Instagram, of course, that's what I do with my time, and I was watching all these people participating in Katie from Inside Number 23's Harry Potter knit along, and I just really wanted to join in. And I had this skein of yarn in my mind, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it. It was that Republic of Wool sock club. I think it was my January sock club. The colorway is called Stardust. It was this, like, I've showed it before, like neons and purples and greens and all different colors. And I kept looking at that thinking, like, this reminds me of, if you've read Harry Potter, Bertie Bott's Every Flavored Beans. If you have not read Harry Potter, it's essentially jelly beans, but they come in everything from the normal flavors to the horrible flavors like booger and vomit and grass and I don't even know what else. So that's just what I kept thinking of. And I decided, like, I'm going to do it. I want to make a pair of socks. I put the idea up on Instagram and people were like, it was like boom, 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 boom. Everybody was like, yes, do it. And I just went for it. So here is what I have left of the skein so you guys can see kind of the colors here. This is the Republic of Wool. I said the colorway is called Stardust. It was a club color, so it's not available. A lot of people have seen the color knit up and wanted to know where they can get it, and unfortunately you can't. I don't know if she will sell them eventually, but for now you're not able to get it. This is her, I think it's called Twist Fingering, and it's an 80-20 merino nylon blend. It was great to work with. I like, sock yarns have this huge range of being like really thin to really chunky, and this is like a nice squishy base that I just really enjoyed working with. And here are, I'm so excited, here are my socks. I don't have adorable sock blockers like everybody else does, but I do. These are like ever so slightly still wet because I just finished them and blocked them last night. Here you go, guys. I'm like tickled. I'm so excited. Look at this. So the funny thing is, as I looked up like what Bertie Bott's flavors are, and as I was knitting them, I was imagining like, so this is like a strawberry flavor, and this like really green, this green right here is obviously grass, and this neon is booger, and this is grape, and this orangey, there happens to be a Bertie Bott's bean that is orange with red speckles, and it is vomit. So these are my Bertie Bott's Every Flavor socks is what I've been calling them. The pattern, so because I thought that was like a loose, and I mean technically this is not a Harry Potter skein, and I thought it was kind of a loose interpretation, I decided to use a pattern from this magazine, which I already had. I picked this up from Knit on Pearl, which is my semi-local yarn shop in Jackson. I think this is the, what does it say? It was like the summer 2013 pattern book. It is from Interweave Knits. It's called the Unofficial Harry Potter Knits. So I got a lot of questions about this too, people on Instagram, and I looked it up. The Interweave website still has this available, and instead of the $14.99 that I paid, it is marked down to $1.99, like $1.99. So I actually went ahead and ordered a bunch of them to use for future giveaways because there's just a lot of really great patterns in here. It's everything from sweaters to shawls to socks, obviously, because that's what I did. This cute like vest. They did a really good job of getting people that look really close to the characters, and just, yeah. Professor Sprout socks. So the pattern that I did, let me see if I can remember where it is. It is called Focus. It is called right here, Dumbledore's Warm Socks. And to show you a picture, they're actually supposed to be like a much more traditional subdued sock with like a contrast heel toe and his initials on it. Whatever. I mean, I followed the pattern, but I did it in this ridiculous yarn. This is a toe up sock, which I discovered is the key to me enjoying socks. Toe up. Sold. The other thing is that I've always really struggled with the fit, and I haven't known, like, it's such a bummer to knit something like, I mean, these are tiny little needles and tiny little yarn, so it sucks so much. Sorry, it sucks. It does. There's no other way to say it. It sucks so much to knit on something for so long, and then it like doesn't fit. It's too big. It's too small. You block it. It doesn't fit. Such a bummer. But this is, I'm going to pull it off. Now they're all blocked in. This is a ribbed sock. It's actually called a seated rib. And the rib for me was key to having a really great fit. These fit fantastic. It uses a short row heel, which I think is just a standard short row heel. I used wrap and turn. I don't like really wrap and turns for short rows. They're not confusing. I just don't really enjoy making them. And when you knit the wraps together on the heel, I felt like it got a little chunky and bulky. It was hard to do smoothly. So on this one, let me see if you can see it. I actually didn't pick up the wraps, not all of them, and I'm not even upset about it. Like you can definitely see right here these little horizontal stitches where it hit. Sorry, I just like choked a little. Like I don't know what it was. You can see these little horizontal stitches where I intentionally did not pick up the wraps. And I'm not bothered by that. I would rather have it be not like such a bulky stitch and have those visible horizontal pieces than not. And then right here, I mean, I have this like hole, and it's nothing that it's on both socks. I think it's just the way that you connect back together after doing the short row heel. So in the future, I would definitely pick up an extra stitch there and then maybe like knit two together. And then I just did, because I wasn't following the pattern exactly, I did a little shorter than called for here, and then just did like maybe 15, 20 rows of 1x1 rib at the top. I love them, guys. I finally get it. I'm finally into knitting socks. I enjoy it. I'm really, really excited to do more. And for anybody who's struggling to enjoy socks, I thought I would share like what made the difference for me. I think in the past, I've always thought that socks really weren't they weren't a good enough reason to use like really nice yarn, that I should save the nice yarn for something better. And then that just ended up with me having to come up with a project like 12 and 12 where I intentionally find ways to use these one skein, beautiful skeins of yarn that I have. So they weren't important, socks weren't important enough to use the beautiful yarn, but then I had to find a way to use up the beautiful, it just doesn't make sense. So I finally I think I heard it on Legacy Knits from Chelsea and Sue, and I think they heard it from somebody else, maybe Laura from the Fawn Knits, but just like use the good yarn. Man, I was hoarding all this really beautiful yarn and just saying like, no, I gotta use it on something special. Socks aren't worth it. I was wrong. The other thing that I definitely resisted is I was making a lot of like really boring vanilla socks, because from top, if you do cuff down, you do all this ribbing first. And I was so bored by the rib that I thought it would be better and it would make the process easier if I just did like a plain stockinette sock. The problem is that I got bored. It was boring. So having this really detailed sock, I mean, the rib is quite simple to achieve, but you're always like knitting and purling and doing a lot of different things. It kept it interesting. And it was the difference between me like being bored out of my mind and not wanting to knit at all versus really enjoying myself. So I still don't understand how Mina from the Knitting Expat can get through a sock a day. It's like, there's no way I could never do it. These took me the better part of a week. While knitting on other things, of course. I'm not a monogamous knitter by any means. But for once, I really enjoyed myself. So I would say if you are struggling with socks, definitely try a different construction method. Toe up, sold. That's all I want to do. I love it. I can try it on as I go along and make sure it fits. I can make this cuff as long or as short as I want. always going to be toe up for me from now on. And then use the good yarn and pick a pattern that like keeps your brain engaged, keeps it interesting. And that made all the difference in the world. They look a little baggy on here. These are just like a size medium sock blocker from my mom. I think my mom's like a 7 or an 8, and I actually have like a size 10 foot. I'm quite tall. So these are a little small for the blocker that I should realistically have. But there we go, finished object. I've participated in Katie's chatter thread, but I'm gonna submit these to my finished object thread, and they are done. So from there, let's get on to works in progress. I immediately, when I was to the end of those, I was like getting ready to do the cuff. I was like already thinking about my next sock. I was that excited about it, which is crazy. I've been trying to knit socks for like 3 years. I've been talking about wanting to knit socks, and it finally just like clicked. So the other toe up sock that I see everybody doing right now is of course the Fine and Dandy sock by the Sweater Co. Let me think. Amber from Yarn Junkie and Jaclyn from the Brooklyn Knitfolk podcast are co-hosting a knit along for it right now. So of course I'm seeing it all over Ravelry, all over Instagram. But I'm like fairly new to sock knitting, and I really enjoy this toe up style. So I figured if it's toe up, like let me just go for it. So I cast off those last night. I put them into block, and then I immediately started on my Fine and Dandy socks. The yarn that I'm using is, this is one of my Yarnbox socks yarns. Let me see if I can find the label over here. Yeah, look at that. This is one of my Yarnbox socks yarns. It is Mosaic Moon Birch Medium Twist MCN. So it's an 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. My colorway is Malachite. There is the label so you can see it. And it is this beautiful tonal tealy green. So I started on those. I did the toe a little differently. I did it how I enjoy doing the toe. And that is a similar, I mean, it's whether you do it bottom up or top down, like the same decreases that I like. And then I started my dandelion pattern. So I'm a little worried that you can't really see the little flower pattern. But any of my other socks yarns that I have are really kind of quite variegated, and they would, I think, be even harder to see. I'm not really sure. Chelsea from Legacy Knits is using, I think it's Octopus Garden from Bull and Vine. It's like a very colorful, beautiful, beautiful yarn. But she's getting really great visibility of those flowers. She posted a picture on Instagram. So I don't know. I think it's working. I like working with the yarn. It's one that I want to use. I'm enjoying the pattern. I just don't, I'm curious how the pattern is really going to show up the more that I knit. But I just started this. These are my same needles as usual. 1.5 US. What is that? Is 2.5 millimeter maybe? Nova cubics on this tiny little cord. If you are interested in these, I would get a longer cord. This is just the little one. It was the only one that was available at the store when I bought these. I would have gotten longer if I could have, but I have no desire to do 2 at a time. I've done it before and it doesn't really strike me that much. I didn't love it, so I'm doing it this way, just 1 at a time. The other thing that I did was add just to the edge like a knit and then a purl, because I said that ribbing helped my fit so much. I was a little worried that if I immediately jumped to a pattern sock with no ribbing, that it might not fit and then I'd be right back to where I was. So I did add just, so then on the edge I have 2 knit stitches and then a purl, 1 on the front, 1 on the back, just to give it a little like flex panel, I guess is what you would call, for better fit. So these are in progress. Loving it. I have no idea when that knit along, I mean, it like just started. I want to say it started on March 17th. And it probably ends at the end of April. So I have plenty of time. These are in my little, I think this is technically a makeup bag by Pog Totes on Etsy. But it's tiny. It's only for socks. It's all you're gonna be able to fit in there. And then other works in progress. Oh, this, I don't know if I'm gonna save this for maybe heels and toes to use with like a very tonal or solid yarn, or if I'm gonna break it up into mini skeins or what, but that's how much I have left from quite a bit. If I was doing shorty socks, I probably could have gotten 2 full pairs out of it. I'll breeze through this because I haven't really done anything on it. This is the Luca shawl from Jared Flood. And I'm doing this as part of a knit along with. I wrote this down because I didn't want to forget it. And more importantly, I know one person who's hosting it, but I didn't want to only say her name, which is very unfair to the other people who are hosting. So it is Carlene from Made with Carlene or G podcast, Gabby from Once Upon a Corgi, and Denise from Yarn Geek are co-hosting the Luca knit along. A little, I think maybe last time I showed it, I was at these trees, maybe, and then I've done this much. So a little bit of progress on that. I did find the label for this because I didn't have it last time, I don't think. Mountain Colors, hand-painted yarn. Winter Lace is the name of the base that I'm using. It is 50% wool, 50% silk, 1,200 yards in 100 gram skein. So it is lace. My colorway is called Harmony Mushroom, so if you're curious. And then this is the cake. I know I've showed this before, but I don't think I showed the latest progress. A little bit. I like it. I'm enjoying it. I have so many other things on the needles that I'm definitely not prioritizing it. I know Carlene has said that she feels like it's an intuitive knit, and I would agree. It looks so complicated when you just see it like this. But if you are familiar with lace, I think it's very easy. I mean, these are forming distinct shapes. So I've said this before about other lace where like if you know what you did before, you know what you're supposed to do next. It's very intuitive, I think. So I had a little hiccup somewhere in here in this little tree section. And I know that these come up later, so those gave me some grief. But aside from that, it really hasn't been too difficult. I just got to devote more time to it. That's all. My other work in progress, which I made a substantial amount of progress on, is my 3-color shawl. I'm doing this as part of the Grocery Girls, Jody and Tracy knit along. It's by Joji Locatelli, and it's based on that same 3-color cowl that we just did. So this bad boy is huge. Oh my gosh, it's so huge. So let me try and situate things. I don't even know how I want to do this. It's so big. It's so big. Oh gosh. I'm afraid I had to switch to a longer needle and it's still scrunched up on my needle. I put in, I thought I had it. Maybe it's the other side. Oh yeah, here we go. So that little stitch marker is where I was last time. I was still in the skinny rows. So I finished those. I did this little texture section and now I'm on to the lace. The yarn that I'm using is Malabrigo. I wanted to say Malabrigo. Malabrigo Makita in Sandbank and Natural. And this rosy pink is Quince & Co. Turn, I believe, in the Rose Quartz colorway. I only bought one skein of this and I thought I would run short. And I think I talked about that on the last podcast because somebody sent me a message and said that she had one of these in her stash and offered to trade. Super generous. And I said, well, let me see how far I get and then I'll decide. And it was so close. It was really, really, really close. And I decided that instead of getting a whole nother 50 gram skein that I wouldn't really use much of at all, I would just add an accent row before starting the lace, which I think is going to work out fine. It keeps my stitch count where it needs to be, and it kind of echoes these skinny stripes down here. If I had been substantially off, I definitely would have taken her up on that offer. Really, the reason that I didn't is because I'm not loving this turn. I don't know if you guys have used it before. It almost feels, I love the color, and I'm still like, I have another Quince & Co. that I picked up on that trip to Salt Lake City at Blazing Needles. I still want to try out so many Quince & Co. yarns, but this one, I'm not really loving it. It almost feels like plasticky. I wish I had, let me see if I have the label right here to see if I can remember what it is. No, I don't have it here. I don't know. I can look it up. I don't think it's like a incredibly high nylon content. I just didn't like the feel of it, honestly. So I didn't really, if she had let me, or if she'd traded skeins with me, that would have let me finish out this section, but then I would have had a substantial portion of that skein left over and not really want to use it. So I decided to pass, even though that was a very sweet offer. And yeah, I'm just cruising along. I'm struggling to work on this in long enough stints. Part of that is because I just like knitting this sock so much. It's kind of like what is on my brain right now, and I want something quick to work on. And these rows are just so long, like so long. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stitches. This is like my wingspan right now. It's going to be so beautiful when it's done. I love that it's fairly neutral with just this little bit of color. You know, you guys know that I love like saturated color, and I can only have so many hot pink and like teal and green and really bold things to wear. So I'm really excited to have this as a finished object, but I'm kind of in the weeds right now, not really loving the process of it. So I really just have to force myself to finish. Really long rows. I'm getting into the lace section, which I'm excited about. That would probably be my favorite section out of all of them. So very excited to see it done. Not the most motivated to work on it, if we're being honest. So that is a work in progress. I think that's everything. I have so many, so many things that I want to cast on that I am like having to force myself, like, no, you cannot. You can't until I either finish this or Luca. No, just no. I have to discipline myself, because otherwise I would cast on so many things and then not finish any of them, which is usually what I do. So this bad boy, I mean, give me another week and hopefully this will be done. I am doing it as part of that knit along. I would assume that goes through the end of the month, but I'm honestly not totally sure. If I don't finish in time, it's not a big deal because I still want the shawl, but it's always nice to finish in time, just in case. So there we go. Quite a bit of progress while not being at all motivated, even in the slightest. Kind of a bummer. Okay, what is next? Okay, guys, I'm going to get a little controversial and talk about things that I'm going to frog. Who said it? Sarah from the Make Things Club, which is a new to me. She might be 10 episodes in. So I saw maybe episode 8. I watched it and I was like, new favorite, obsessed, love it. And she was talking about working on this really intricate lace shawl, and she had to keep taking back to fix this one specific mistake. And she said that, I think she was saying, if I remember, I watched it a while ago, but I think she was saying that before she might have just like forged ahead to just get it done. Kind of like my 3-color shawl, like don't want to work on it anymore, just want to finish it so she can move on to the next thing. And instead, she's trying to remind herself that if she has to tank back to fix something, that she's just getting more use out of that yarn. You know, it's providing her a longer period of enjoyment of working with it, which is such a great way to think about things. And with that in mind, I have decided that there are certain things that I have made that just aren't working. It's not that I didn't like the yarn. It's not that I didn't like the project. It's maybe that the yarn combination with the project isn't working for me. So I have quite a few of these things. You know, we were all new knitters once. And even, I mean, I'm not even going to say that. To this day, I still make mistakes where I start working on something. One of these is a recent project where I start working on things and it's just not really happening. But I'm like so into it that I just keep forging ahead. So I'm going to try to keep that in my mind. And if something's not working, like the yarn isn't working with the pattern, or I'm not enjoying the pattern, instead of just like pushing through, I want to get a little better about like staying in tune with, am I enjoying the process? Is this yarn working for me? Is this something I'm actually going to wear when I'm done? Or am I just like making it to make it for absolutely no reason? So let me show you some things that are going to be frogged, unfortunately. The first, I would say that this was my first skein of like luxury yarn. It was on my first trip to knit on Pearl in Jackson. It is a locally dyed yarn. There is a girl who, I don't know if she still works there, but she did work there, who did solar dyeing, where you put the dye in like a mason jar and let it sit in the sun. And I thought that was just the coolest thing. And I bought one of her skeins. So it's this like crazy hot pink, which I love. I think this pattern is called Mizzle, which I believe is a free pattern. It's a half pie shawl. So it makes this semicircle. Great. This was my first time working with, I think, fingering in a shawl, like ever. First time. And my first time doing anything like semi lace, you know, using eyelets together with decreases, that kind of thing. It is just too small. I literally never wear it. I don't know that I have ever worn it. So I made it, I finished it, I blocked it, and I put it in a box where it has sat for 2 years. And what is the point of that? To have this beautiful yarn that serves absolutely no purpose. If I had a small female in my life, I have a little niece, but she is 6 and I don't think she's really into hot pink shawls. But if I had a younger female in my life, or a daughter or something, I would definitely pass this along to them because it could be a really cute size, but it's just too small for me. So it's coming apart, guys. I'm gonna frog it. This bad boy has reached the end of life and we're gonna reuse this yarn. I don't remember the blend because I would absolutely put it into socks. Or what I will do is combine it with the project that you guys are going to see next. Maybe just alternating rows. And that is I can't believe I decided this. This is my, what is it called? Line break, I think. This is the shawl that taught me short rows. It is an asymmetrical shawl. It is quite large. I think I've showed this before. I don't remember if I showed it. I know it was on my blog. I don't remember if I was podcasting then yet, so I don't know if I showed it here. This is 2 skeins of Malabrigo sock in the colorway Light of Love, which is this crazy hot pink color. Who knew I was so into hot pink, but apparently I am. Love the shawl pattern. Love the yarn. Malabrigo sock, if you're ever worried about how it is going to knit up for like a nice cozy shawl, beautiful. This is lovely and drapey and soft, and it blocked out really well. So your question is, why in the world are you telling us all these great things and then deciding to frog it? So I ran out of yarn. And one of the reasons is, okay, so this pattern uses shadow wrap short rows. I'm like, keep moving it around. I'm not even really showing it to you. So it's asymmetrical. You start from here, and then you do short rows to make these increasing wedges. So I'm going to cover the camera. I won't really be able to see it, but hopefully you can. So here's the short side, and then you do short rows to make these bigger and bigger and bigger wedges. So theoretically fantastic. And I love it. It's big, it's cozy, but I ran out of yarn and my edge curls. And when I first made it, I thought, who cares? I'm not going to wear it where that would ever matter. You know, it's just going to be like this big wrap voluminous thing. So who cares that the edge rolls? Turns out I care. This pattern I think is supposed to have this multi-row eyelet border, and I just didn't have enough yarn. And the reason that I didn't have enough yarn, I started saying earlier, is that I used shadow wrap short rows, which are my preferred method of short rows. I'm going to try see if I can find one for you. And I discovered that if you do your wraps into the eyelet, that you can't really see them. Okay, here are some. Okay, this one was done as written into the row. I think you do it every 14 stitches. I mean, I did this like 2 years ago, so don't quote me. I think it's like every 14 stitches. And I discovered that if you do it as written, you get this wrap. It's going to happen. It's a short row. That's just, they're mostly invisible. And when you're wearing it, of course, it doesn't matter, but you do see them. So that's what this is right here. Hopefully you can see that. And then as I got along, I discovered that if you put your wrap into the eyelet that is part of the pattern, you don't see them. So I want to say I started increasing, I don't remember, I started doing my short rows relative to where they would fit on the eyelets instead of how they were written. So what I ended up with, instead of a deeper shawl, I ended up with a longer shawl. So I'm not really upset about the size of the shawl. I want to show you how these are mostly invisible. Yeah, okay, so this is the one that I showed you earlier where you can see it. And then down here, where is one? Here's one. And it just looks like part of the eyelet. It's very invisible. It looks great. But I ended up, fundamentally, I ended up changing the shape of the shawl. That's the important part. And then I ran out of yarn to do the eyelet border. So, love it. I could probably even just put in a lifeline instead of re-knitting this whole bad boy. I mean, now that I say that, maybe that's a more rational way to do it. I could probably just put a lifeline in, maybe a few rows up, and add a border. And I don't really know what I would do. Would I do a contrast border? Should I try and use this? You know, these do not match perfectly, but I bet if you alternated rows, you wouldn't really notice. And then that would let me add these, you know, 400 some yards to this 880 yards. And then I could just make it bigger and finish off the eyelet border. Either way, these two are not long for this world. It is over for them, and I'm going to frog them. The other one, it is with a very heavy heart that I finally admit this. The sweater, guys, it's done. And I don't mean it's done like it's finished. It's done like it's over. In the months of back and forth, should I, shouldn't I, I'm now up to 60 pounds down. This sweater's never going to fit. Let's just be honest. I want it to fit because I love it and I love the pattern and I loved making it and I just wanted to finish. It's over. It's so over that I should just take out the needles right now so that I am forced to actually do it. I'm going to frog it. I'm going to save every little bit and I'm going to make another sweater, but it's probably not going to be anytime soon. I am so desperate to make a sweater. It's all I have on the brain. It's all I want to work on. But I know, like, I'm not losing that fast anymore. These are out. It's over. I'm not losing that fast anymore. It's just the nature of weight loss. You lose really fast and then eventually it slows down to like a steady pace, which is where I am right now. So I'm not going to lose, 60 pounds in the next few months. But having lost 60 so far, it's just, I mean, look, like, it's just too big. It's like, it's way too big. It's never going to happen. So it's over, Gary. We will meet again someday. And I will frog it, and I will probably, actually with all of these, since they've been knit for so long, I will probably frog, re-skein, soak, and then retwist them into nice skeins so that they're ready to go for next time, so that they're not all like kinked and everything. But it's happening. So hopefully by next time, I will have made some time in my day to get these officially frogged. And I will continue to show you guys some other frogs from my stash. Things where, I mean, I think it's worth that kind of introspection is what I want to say, maybe. I think that's what I want to say. Where I guess it depends on if you're a process or a project knitter. Excuse me. I'm a little bit of both. I wouldn't say I'm distinctly one or the other, but I definitely, if I've 95% done with a project, I definitely have a tendency to just like blindly forge ahead. And it's not always the best. It's worth considering, is this really going how I want it to go? Is it turning out what I hoped for? Do I actually have a use for it? And then when all else fails, just think of it Sarah's way. I think it's a beautiful way of thinking of it, that if I have to frog this, that just means I get to use the yarn twice. That's less yarn that I have to add to my stash. If you're a person where the budget's tight, it's absolutely worth considering if you have something in your stash where you love the yarn, but you don't love the project, and you can re-knit it. And that's definitely how I feel, especially about all of them to an extent. But I loved working with that Malabrigo sock and the hot pink. I love it. I love everything about it. So why am I letting it sit in a project that doesn't serve me any good? And the same with the sweater. Beautiful color. Loved how it worked up, but it serves me no purpose. Why should I keep going with something that I'm never going to be able to wear? You know, better to frog it, call it a day, and come back to it at some point and get more use out of that sweater. So that's my thoughts. That's what I got going on in the brain. If you guys have any projects that you need to frog, share them with me. And I would love to see them. And yeah, okay. I'm going to focus because now I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I'll be right. Okay, so next up, let's talk about stuff that came in the mail. My 2 subscriptions showed up. I am subscribed to Republic of Wool Sock Club. It's a 3-month club. I did January, February, March, and then I saw the signups for the next round just in time and signed up again because I was so happy with it. So those should continue coming for the next 3 months. So this is my last from that first subscription. I almost yelled. It was a squeal a little bit when I opened this. This is Republic of Wool, of course. I already said that. It's always the same base. The base is twist fingering, 80/20 superwash merino nylon. So that's what this bad boy is. It's always the same. 400 yards. So now we know the answer. This colorway is called Dandy. I love it. That I told you guys I was looking for a perfect peach. And so many of you have found peach, made peach suggestions. I definitely realized that I didn't really qualify my definition of peach, but the peach that I'm looking for, a lot of people showed me really saturated, perfect, beautiful peaches, but I was envisioning something a little more like watercolory, a little bit of tonal is great, something like that. So this is definitely pink. It is not peach. But if I had a second skein of this, I could definitely swap this into that same project where I was imagining using the peach. Beautiful, really love it. So there's that. So excited to see what happens going forward. These socks were the first time I had used Republic of Wool, actually put it to use. So it was really interesting to see how it went from the skein to a knitted up project. And I think I know nothing about dyeing. I wonder if dyers know. I mean, if you're making like a striping yarn, I assume you have to make it a certain way. But when you make these like very, speckled, variegated, splotchy yarns, do you really know how they're going to knit up? I don't know. So I didn't know how it was going to knit up. It was definitely a surprise. I'm happy with how it knit up. So I can't wait to see this one done. I'm just like, sorry. It must be really annoying to watch. There we go. And then the other thing that came in the mail is my first month of the Hedgehog Fibers Club. This is also called Twist Sock. It is what is the blend? Here we go. It's 80% BFL, 20% nylon. What? It says it's machine washable? I don't believe that. 100 grams, 365 meters. The colorway is called Sea Fern. This is our maybe April. I don't know how the months work for Hedgehog. I want to say that they ship like before the month, whereas Republic of Wool ships very late in the month. I honestly don't know. Sea Fern. Here we go. It's mostly this cream color with these pops of green and teal and black and blue, and I think on its own, I would use it for socks. But I saw this and I saw these colors and immediately thought of only one thing that this can go to use for. Let me show you. I grabbed them. Last time, sorry guys. Last time I was talking about doodler combos and about how I really had the doodler on my brain, and I was trying to like make combinations where it didn't really work, and I was like, this will work with this, like, because I just want to make it so badly. So I saw this and I thought that this, I mean, that is fact, a perfect combination. Nobody can argue with that. This is I mean, you can argue with it, but I disagree. This is another BFL, our I Heart BFL sock from Palouse Yarn Company. This is from Knit on Pearl and Jaclyn. Really excited about this yarn. I was looking for something for a swap and ended up, of course, buying something for me. We know it's a BFL nylon. Let me see if I can get some details. 405 yards, 80% superwash BFL, 20% nylon. So probably the exact same base. I mean, I'm not saying they're from the same supplier, but very, very similar base to this guy. This color, it's perfect. And then the other yarn that I really wanted to use for the doodler was my Fawn and the Fox. I think that that is a fantastic combo. So the way that I would do it, I would use this for that like wing shape. And then I would actually use this for the rays, spirit hands, rays that go through the wing shape. And then for the cable that's along the top. And then I would use this for the kind of wavy band that's along the bottom, probably with an accent stripe of this. So this is her Magpie. This is actually Magpie version 1. I mean, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure she's come out with a new Magpie blend. I don't know why she replaced it because this was really beautiful, but for whatever reason, I'm sure it will be equally fantastic. This is a fingering weight, 84% superwash merino, 16% gold stellina. It's a very fine stellina. I mean, there's a ton of gold throughout it, but they're not. I've definitely had stellina where it's like kind of chunky and thick strands, and this definitely is not. So we'll do this with this, and then this at the, I think it's a beautiful combo. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it works out. And I hope, like, I don't know when I'm going to start on this, but I'm so certain that these will become a doodler. There's no question. 1 second. I'm back. I'm just like so stuffed up. It's got to be allergies. That's the only thing it could be. I'm not sick. Okay, I participated in Mina from the Knitting Expat, organized a swap, and the whole point was to send locally made things, yeah, local yarn and things that were indicative of your local area. So I was teamed up with Tanya. I wanted to say it's Tanya. Let me check. Tanya from New York. And I sent, I think I showed, no, I didn't show what I sent. I actually asked her if she wanted to do 2 skeins instead of 1. It was only supposed to be 1 skein. But when I read her profile, there was something in there. I won't share her business with you guys, but there was something in there that I had in my stash that I thought was a perfect fit for her. So I asked if we could do 2 skeins, and I got my box in return. And what she sent a note that said that, I feel special about this, and let me tell you why. She said that this came from Gauge Intention, and we all know that Gauge Intention has since closed. So I feel like I have the little bitty piece of Gauge Intention, which is fantastic. It's a small indie dye. It's Sleep Season yarn and fiber. In this, it's a little, there we go, the screen just got a little darker. It's like a cranberry-y red with darker spots in it. These darker purpley spots, a little bit of black. Oh, I hear radio. Bunny. I hear everybody. I don't like podcasting when people can hear me. It is, colorway is called Spike. It is 100% superwash merino, hand dyed by Meg. So I got that, and then I had never heard of this company before, so I will definitely check them out. My own little piece of Gauge Intention. And then she sent this, I recognized immediately. And whoa, buddy, it is Jade Sapphire, Mongolian Cashmere, 100% cashmere. It is totally my color. It's like this dusty rosy purple. What is Triberry? Is that the colorway? Triberry Tops is the colorway. If you want to check out Jade Sapphire, it's jadesapphire.com. So this is is it a fingering? It actually looks more like a sport. I mean, I guess it's a fingering. It's 55 grams, 200 yards. So it's somewhere between a sport and a fingering, I would say. So this is beautiful. I don't even know, like, if you have 100% cashmere, I mean, my instinct says a hat or a cowl because it's going to be super soft. So next to the skin would be nice. But I don't know. I got to find something special to use for this. So beautiful. She sent me this little notebook, and then she sent me some minis. She sent a bunch of tea. which has already made its way to my tea drawer into my mug, so I don't have it here. But these minis, this is fun because they are all from, I think they're all, she made it perfectly little labeled. They're all from Nerd Girl Yarns, which is something that I've definitely heard of but never used before. These cute little cards. And then she said what she used them for. So Faraday, attack eyebrows. I don't know what that means. All these different ones. So mini skeins. Yeah, that was my knitting expat swap. And then a while ago, I just haven't shared them yet because I have not been working on a mini blanket. Katrina from Cat's Kettle, who, sidebar, let me sidebar for a second. She just had a phenomenally successful Etsy update. I'm like an annoying fangirl when it comes to, she does the Yarn 30 podcast. That's the name of the podcast. And then Cat's Kettle Yarn on Etsy. I'm like such a fangirl and I'm like cheering her on. I don't know Katrina. I just like know her through Instagram. That's it. And she had just posted, I followed her. There's an airplane. We live, it's like a little airplane. Let me tell you about Wyoming. There is no real airport here. We're 90 minutes from Walmart, so there's definitely no real airport. There is a little airport for little planes, and we live, like, we can see it from our house. So that was just a little plane flying. And somebody once, we live in like a funny area of Wyoming where people kind of come to retire and hide out in quiet. I know that seems strange because we are like in proximity to Jackson Hole, which is a place in Wyoming that you might have heard of. You wouldn't have heard of our little town. Doesn't matter. But Jackson Hole has become very, 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 very expensive to live in. They say that Jackson Hole is for billionaires. So people have kind of migrated to our little town, and those are the millionaires. So we see, there's a very famous musician that has a place in town. I have sold ATVs to the fathers of celebrities, and it's kind of funny. Yeah, I wanted to say our tiny little airport. There are all these like sneaky millionaires living in our little like rural town. It's a town of 1,000, and somebody wanted to be able to fly their private jet into our airport and threatened to buy it because the town would not let them fly their private jet into our tiny little airport. That's the kind of stuff that goes on here. Whatever. Airplane's gone now. It won't make any more noise. Let's get back to this. Katrina posted on Instagram and said that she had a bunch of minis. She didn't want them anymore. She's like, I've used them. I want them out of here. Let's do a swap. And I just happened to be one of the first people to post. And I said, sure, I will send you some stuff. You send me some stuff. Great. The funny thing is that she had them. I know that they were adorably packaged because a few of them still came. They were like tied with like butcher's twine. And then they had these, trying to pick them up, cute little labels on them. But my little bitty post office had a little bit of rough handling with the package, and they all came apart. So now I mean, I'm not even upset about this. It's kind of fun. I'm going to try and match these with these guys. And I actually recognize, I think that Katrina showed this one in a pair of socks, so I can figure that one out. And then this one, I already know what this is because this is Ella Rae lace merino. I've used it before to make a pair of socks, so I know that that's what that one is. So by process of elimination, I'm going to try and identify all the other ones. It's a fun game. So back to what I was saying about Katrina. She also has the Yarn 30 podcast. So I had known of her through Instagram, and then she got back into dyeing and started posting some of her dyeing process on Instagram and talking about an update that she was going to have, and she had that update and it was phenomenally successful. And I really wanted one of her colorways and I did not get there in time. So after the response to it, she posted a pre-order, which I also didn't get to in time, sold out of what I wanted. So she posted another pre-order and I finally got some, and it's going to be coming my way. I'm not on like a yarn diet or no buy. I just don't need any yarn right now. It's like insane. I have so many things that I could be working on. I don't need anything else. So I have zero plans to buy anything with the exception of the clubs that I have that are already coming. Love those. Never going to get rid of those. I let myself buy 2 skeins of this yarn from Cat's Kettle, and you will see it when it shows up. But other than that, really nothing else to report, guys. I feel like that was a little scattered. not gonna lie, I was like, here, all over the place. It's been a good day. It is Sunday. I already said that. Sunday is our Saturday. So we always start the morning with like a big brunch type breakfast, sleep in late, hang out, beautiful spring day. My brother was here last week. We own our small power sports dealership. He is opening one in Michigan. So he stopped by. I say that like he like came over to our house. He flew in to spend a few days with us and learn about operating a dealership and just give him some tips and tricks. We worked on a logo for him, which is funny. I used to be in marketing and graphic design. It just kind of abruptly left that for our life here in Wyoming very suddenly. And I haven't done that in so long. And it was fun to just like pull up Illustrator, work with him, come up with a logo for their new company. It was a good time. And then he left Saturday. So just before Easter. He has two very young kids. So obviously he wanted to be home for Easter for them. And then this past week has been pretty quiet. It's like Wyoming's kind of holding on to winter, but it's not really. We've actually had some of the, I say good snow because it matters to us. We sell snowmobiles. Snow is very important. So for us, some of the best snow all season has been these past few weeks. Anybody else, I'm sure, is very upset that we still have snow and they want it gone. If you're not a snowmobiler, you couldn't possibly be excited for continuing snow. For us, it's a great thing. So it seems like it's kind of done for, and spring's gonna usher its way in. Alan is headed to St. Louis on Tuesday. He's going to be gone for a full week. His Grammy has kind of hit some complications and in her medical struggles. So he's going to go see her, which is important. I would like to be able to go, but we have this very important, God, I can't even explain it. It doesn't matter. There's like a date that I have to be at the shop for. It's a scheduling timeline thing for work. Absolutely cannot miss it. So he's just going to fly home for a week. And then hopefully as summer approaches, we'll be able to both go to St. Louis and see the whole family and hang out with them. See my family in Michigan, all that good stuff. So he will be gone next week, which just means, honestly, I'm going to knit a whole lot. I'm going to film a podcast. I'm going to bum around. I'm going to talk to you guys on Instagram. I'm going to do everything I normally do, just more of it, because there's nobody here to hang out with. I guess that's all. I hope you guys are doing well. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being part of my little knitting circle. Even though we're separate, I feel like we're here together and we're chatting. Great talking to you. And we are on the weekly routine. So only because of Easter was I gone last week. We're going to keep doing this every week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.